time. And of course, you're going to drop down and you're going to have to start up again. But that's what life is. It's just like a video game. So I don't know. I talked for like 10 minutes. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. You answered it very, very thoroughly, and I appreciate that. In your own work and what you're doing now, especially since you've been interviewing other people who have overcome challenges, is there something that you're noticing or certain, either it's like mindsets or ways of being that people who consistently are able to push past adversity do that maybe people who get stuck in maybe their own way or whatever that they're doing are not able to do?
That's a tough question. I think it's a pattern of thinking. I studied hypnotherapy and neuro-linguistic programming for years, so I'm familiar with how the mind works. And, this power of positive thinking may be a cliche, but if you let yourself, I had a problem for years with depression. It ran in my family. And once you kind of get on that roll of letting yourself fall into that, it becomes more difficult to get out of it. So you have to kind of, and there's this thing that a lot of people have, and maybe I might have had as well, which is that you kind of become addicted to depression. It's like a way of life. It's like your cocoon, your protection against certain things. Some people say that they like being pessimistic because then they'll never be disappointed. So it's like once you allow yourself to get into this negative loop, it's very difficult to break out of that. So the way to stop that is to just not allow yourself to get into that loop. It's interesting because like the last a couple of days ago, I got on Facebook and I suddenly realized to myself, when I'm on Facebook, I feel depressed. I said, I don't want to be on Facebook, because for some reason it depresses me. It's a lot of negative stories and just downer stuff. I don't know. It's just, so I just got off immediately. I said, I don't want to be on Facebook. I shouldn't be on Facebook. It doesn't make me happy. So as soon as I caught myself, feeling that way, I got out of it. So you really have to, in neuro-linguistic programming, there's a way of it's like mind tricks in a way to trick your mind into just focusing on something else. So if something is depressing you, you can immediately focus on something that makes you happy. And it's just like like a baby, if you see the baby crying, sometimes, showing him a cute toy or a funny face, and then he'll start laughing, right? I mean, we're kind of like babies in that way. It's like where we focus our mind is where is kind of what we become. So, if you can trick your mind into something else, you'll get out of that negativity. And there's kind of a more advanced techniques to doing that. It's not that easy, but I could give you, for one example that I like to share with people, something very simple.
Yeah.
What would it be like to just stand up from your chair, if you're listening now, and just stand up straight and make believe that you are Superman or Supergirl, and you have a long flowing cape going down your back, and just walk around the room as Superman or Supergirl and just feel what that feels like. And whenever I do that, it makes me feel great. It's just, It's like a kid. You're just pretending. But whether you're an adult or a kid, it works the same. You know, if you imagine it, if you can get your mind into a state, we call them states in neurolinguistic programming. If you can get yourself into a state, a positive state, then you're good. You know, you just have to keep that going. And there are ways of learning how to keep that going, how to keep into a positive state. For instance, you know, some people that I speak to, when they go out, like when they go out to a bar or a club or whatever, they like to speak to anybody because it gets them into that state of speaking with people and being sociable and being friendly and being happy. And then they feel more comfortable approaching someone who they might find attractive because they've already spoken to 10 other people that they're just talking to. So once you get on that roll, then you can continue that. So in answer to your question, I think that's really the key is getting yourself into a positive state and maintaining that. And don't let yourself get into negative states and snap out of it if you can. And if you can go online and you can look up something called the Circle of Excellence, which is something that I do from neurolinguistic programming as well. There are also other exercises that you can do where, you know, you can do one of these exercises for like 5 minutes, and then that could last you for hours. So I hope that helps.
Yeah. What got you interested in NLP? And were
like
there...
I said, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I was very creative, and I really was fascinated by the human mind and how it works, and I was always into psychology.
Okay.
And with my music, it's really, you know, as time goes on, you know, the original album, X the Human Condition, was written in 1998 originally. Basically came out of a broken relationship. So it was more kind of relationship based, but I also put in a lot of what I was learning from hypnotherapy and neurolinguistic programming at the time as well, which is kind of deeper stuff, not just about, you know, the relationship and love and whatever, but something deeper, something about alienation and fitting in, as I said before. And so even my new work, which is we're releasing a new album in 2018, is going to be even deeper, going into, you know, how people view each other, how they get along with each other, the economy, stuff like that. Really kind of real deep stuff. That really turns me on, getting deeper and deeper, you know. What can I tell you? I just can't do the superficial kind of thing anymore.
Sure. When you were studying NLP, were you reading books about it? Were you going to multiple seminars or classes?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was very heavy into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what were some of the best, I would say, resources that you found if somebody was interested in NLP?
That's a really difficult question. I would say, you know, Richard Bandler is one of the originators of NLP. So if you look him up, Richard Bandler, Bandler, he's like the father of it. I think there's one other guy whose name might escape me right now, and I'm sorry about that, but his name comes to mind. And I've studied with some really good people. Doug O'Brien, who's in New York, is a great guy. I definitely recommend him. He's a friend of mine as well. But there's many people across the world who are practicing NLP and teach other people how to do it.
Oh, great. I'll have to do a little bit more research myself on that.
Yeah.
So with the projects that you've worked on, and going back and forth from your artistic work to your business side, were there mentors that you found along the way that were helpful, or any particular type of books or resources that really seemed to help you move the needle?
Well, I like to learn from. You never know where you're going to learn something from someone. Mm-hmm. Might just be someone on the street that you meet for a second. It was interesting. A couple of weeks back, I was deep in thought about something, walking down the street, and I was thinking about how someone did something that upset me. And then this guy comes up to me and with a piece of paper, and he says, "Can you help me find this place?" And suddenly it just completely got out of my head. And I looked at this guy and I said, wow, this guy is just like, is like a mirror of myself. He's just like, down to earth, nice guy, and just kind of, needs some help, and I was completely focused on him, and I pointed him in the right direction. And afterwards I just felt so good that there's someone else that I connected with on a real human level. Mm-hmm. In a way, it's just such a simple little thing, but I learned something from that interaction. These little things from people, saying thank you, or someone like on the train who will let you off the train first, these little bits of humanity that we find is just really precious and beautiful. And, in New York, where I live, sometimes this is hard to find. But, when you think about, I went through Hurricane Sandy and 9/11 here, and people came together, and they would really surprise you, how kind people can be. So sometimes we get so wrapped up in getting screwed over by someone that we think everyone is like that, Mm-hmm. But so having these little instances like this guy, asking me how to get somewhere with this little piece of paper with this directions written on it that I had to look at and decipher and help him find. It's great. It was just fun, and it was great to connect with him. I don't know his name or anything, but just a human moment, Mm-hmm. I think these are really precious things that sometimes we overlook. And I think that one of the main things that I learned from being sick, from being ill, with almost going blind, is that we need to really appreciate every little thing in life. I never really considered, I imagined to myself, what would it be like to be blind, right? And you close your eyes and you're walking around the room. But, to really be there and to kind of like, I lost my vision. It's like scary as hell. Right. So then you begin to realize, oh my God, being able to see is so precious. It's a gift, being able to hear birds singing outside, or the sun shining, or whatever. These little things that we take for granted that we never even think about. You begin to realize how important they are, mm-hmm. And when you're sick, the whole world looks like garbage, it looks like crap. And that's the worst thing, because you're never going to be successful if you're sick, if you're ill, It just weighs on you. It's just this huge weight. So I was able to overcome all my health issues through diet and nutrition and exercise naturally, which is quite miraculous. It is possible. People do overcome illnesses, serious illnesses, through natural means every single day. Mm-hmm. And you don't hear about these things, but they do. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of doing research. So if you do have some kind of illness or whatever, and you've got like 20 different prescription drugs that you're taking, like my mother did before she passed away.